During the reign of Emperor Renzong of the northern Song Dynasty, the Western Xia Empire beyond the frontier launched a major invasion of the border. The commander-in-chief of the frontier forces was Yang Zongbao, the third-generation hero of the Yang family of generals. Zongbao was now exactly 50 years old, but his prowess remained undiminished. The Song and Western Xia armies fought several battles, with casualties on both sides, and neither side could claim victory. The Western Xia main camp was stationed at the foot of Flying Dragon Mountain, a strategically important location that was easy to defend but difficult to attack. Local people said there was a cliff plank road in the gourd valley beside the mountain that could lead to the back of the mountain. Zongbao discussed with General Yu Sheng about personally scouting the plank road to outflank the enemy camp and achieve victory through surprise. That night, Zongbao ordered the horsekeeper Zhang Biao to prepare the white dragon horse. Taking only 2 personal guards, he slipped out of the pass under the moonlight and headed straight for Gourd Valley. At dawn, the white dragon horse carried Zongbao back. Yu Sheng rushed out of the pass to meet him, only to find that General Yang had been struck by an arrow in his heart and had already sacrificed his life. He then sent people to search for the escorts and found that the 2 personal guards had died in battle, and Zhang Biao was also seriously wounded. When the Western Xia heard that Zongbao was dead, they attacked the pass even more vigorously, and the military situation became extremely urgent. Yu Sheng quickly sent 2 generals, Meng Huayuan and Zhao Tingdui, to set out through the night to the capital to request reinforcements. When Generals Meng and Zhao arrived at the Yang residence in the capital, the outside was quiet, but the mansion was filled with joy. It turned out that this day was Zongbao's 50th birthday, and the whole family was preparing to celebrate the general's birthday. The birthday hall was decorated with lanterns and colorful banners, with bright candles shining. Mu Guiying, Zongbao's wife, was originally a female general skilled in battle. Today she had changed into festive red clothing and was busy inside and outside. Thinking of her husband defending the frontier, she silently prayed for constant good news and his lasting health. Chai Junju, Zongbao's mother, was also especially happy and personally helped her daughter-in-law prepare the birthday feast. At this time, the old housekeeper Yang Hong announced that Generals Meng and Zhao had arrived. The princess and Guiying thought they had come for Zongbao's birthday celebration and were overjoyed. The mother-in-law and daughter-in-law went out to greet them, but when they saw Generals Meng and Zhao dressed in plain white clothes with worried expressions, they couldn't help but freeze in confusion. The princess quickly asked about the frontier situation. Generals Meng and Zhao knelt on the ground and tearfully recounted how Zongbao had fallen in battle. Upon hearing this unexpected news, the princess and Guiying were overwhelmed with grief and nearly fainted. Mu Guiying immediately wanted to report to her grandmother She Taijun to order troops. But the princess worried that it would suddenly upset the elder, so she asked Guiying to restrain her grief and discuss it after the day was over. She also instructed Generals Meng and Zhao to quickly change their clothes and not reveal the truth to She Taijun yet. Soon, amid laughter and chatter, the various ladies, the 8th sister, the 9th sister, and Lianhuanhua, Zongbao's only son, helped the 100-year-old She Taijun slowly walk out from the inner hall. When the matriarch was seated, a maid brought a tray of birthday flower ornaments. The old lady beamed as she took one and pinned it on her head. The other ladies also picked flowers to wear. When Guiying saw the red flowers, she could barely contain her sorrow. Princess Chai quickly signaled to her, and the two had no choice but to pin on the flowers. After changing their clothes and drying their tears, Generals Meng and Zhao came to the birthday hall. The two reminded each other, "Whatever happens, we must not drink today, or we might accidentally say something wrong." Generals Meng and Zhao paid their respects to She Taijun. The matriarch asked why they were not at the frontier and had returned home. Princess Chai quickly answered for them, they came back for Zongbao's birthday celebration. Zhao Tingdui quickly added, "Brother Zongbao is so busy with military affairs that he specially sent us two back to kowtow to your ladyship." Wan Guang was very happy to see Generals Meng and Zhao and asked what birthday gifts they had brought. When they couldn't answer, Princess Chai quickly came to their rescue. "The birthday gifts are already displayed in the front courtyard. Stop bothering your uncles and quickly pour wine for your great-grandmother." The banquet began, and the birthday hall was filled with joy. When She Taijun received the cup of wine that Wan Guang poured for her, she smiled and said, "Your uncles Meng and Zhao are old friends who shared hardships with your father, defending the frontier together. You should first toast them. As Generals Meng and Zhao hesitated with their cups raised, Princess Chai urged them, nephews, you have traveled a long way. Please drink this cup. The two generals reluctantly drank one cup. Yang Qinyang, a straightforward woman, seeing the two generals hesitating and refusing, stepped forward to persuade them to drink heartily. Then Qinyang encouraged Wang Guang to toast Mu Guiying. Oh my, how could we forget the birthday girl? Wang Guang, hurry and pour wine for your mother. She can really hold her drink. Guiying forced herself to drink. Qinyang then ordered Wang Guang to toast his father, but Guiying drank it for him as well. At this moment, Guiying's heart was being torn apart, and she began to sway and could barely stand. The matriarch became suspicious. Guiying could usually hold her liquor well, so why did she get drunk after just one drink today? Generals Meng and Zhao loved drinking, so why were they being so hesitant today? She called the two generals over and asked about the frontier situation, but they stammered and didn't dare speak directly. The matriarch became even more suspicious and demanded answers sternly. The generals dared not hide the truth any longer and had to tell her everything. This sudden terrible news shocked the matriarch so much that she jumped to her feet, and the wine cup in her hand clattered to the floor. Everyone tearfully removed the flower ornaments from their heads. The matriarch cried out in grief and anger, "Grandson Zhongbo! Today is your 50th birthday, yet you have given your life for our country. You are truly a worthy descendant of the Yang family, my good grandson." The whole family unanimously demanded that the matriarch dispatch troops to attack the enemy and avenge the death. The matriarch said, "Dispatching troops is a major matter. Meng and Zhao, go quickly to court to inform the emperor and wait for his decree. Now let us first arrange a memorial hall to honor our hero's spirit." Prime Minister Ko Zhuan and Chief Military Commissioner Wang Hui were shocked to hear that Zhongbo had fallen and the frontier was in urgent danger. They immediately sounded the bells and drums to summon the court. When Emperor Renzong heard the report, he was even more terrified and quickly gathered his civil and military officials for an audience. Ko Zhuan advocated for war, while Wang Hui advocated for peace, and the two argued in the Golden Hall. Emperor Renzong wanted to seek peace but couldn't say so directly. He purposely asked who would be willing to lead the army into battle. At this moment, all the officials in the court looked at each other, but no one spoke up. Ko Zhuan recommended the women generals of the Yang family to lead the army. But Wang Hui said, the Yang family consists only of widows, with some very old and some very young. How can they handle such an important task? Absolutely not. Ko Zhuan came up with a clever plan and said, the Yang family has been loyal and brave for generations. Since General Zhongbo has fallen for his country, your majesty should go to pay respects. This will comfort the loyal spirit and also help the matriarch understand the court's difficult situation in seeking peace. Renzong thought this made sense and went with Ko Zhuan and Wang Hui to the Yang residence. After the memorial ceremony, the matriarch asked about the frontier being in danger and when the court would send troops in who would lead them. Renzong found it hard to speak. Ko Zhuan said, your ladyship does not yet know this, but His Majesty has adopted Minister Wang's suggestion and decided to seek peace with Western Xia. The matriarch suppressed her grief and anger and earnestly advised Renzong not to seek peace through cowardice. If no one could lead the army, she, despite being 100 years old, was willing to lead the expedition herself. Ko Zhuan repeatedly agreed. Wang Hui shook his head and said, even if your ladyship takes command, without capable generals who are skilled in battle, it would be useless. Before he could finish speaking, Mu Guiying stepped forward. If your ladyship leads the army, I, Mu Guiying, am willing to be the vanguard. All the other ladies also rushed in. Xinyang said angrily, Minister Wang, all the women of the Yang family can fight in battle. We will definitely defeat Western Xia. If you want peace, we absolutely will not agree. Yang Wenguang also stepped out from behind the others and said, our Yang family has generals to lead and soldiers to fight. Though Wenguang is young, I will never lag behind when it comes to fighting enemies and serving my country. Wan Hui coldly said, military affairs are serious and not child's play. Avenging General Yang is a small matter, the safety of the entire court is what truly matters. She Taijun angrily said, Minister Wang, you underestimate my Yang family. 3 generations of young family heroes have fought hundreds of battles, one after another, sacrificing ourselves for our country. Which battle was fought for personal revenge? Which battle was not for protecting our empire and the common people? She left Wang Shuhui speechless. Emperor Renzong was moved by the matriarch's words. Ko Zhuan seized the opportunity to strongly encourage him, and finally the emperor issued an imperial decree for the matriarch to lead the expedition. Wang Shuhui still refused to back down and bet with the matriarch that if she could defeat Western Xia, he would willingly resign from office. The matriarch smiled disdainfully. Good. When we return victorious, I will definitely take off your official hat. After Renzong left, the matriarch immediately gathered all her daughters-in-law, Guiying, the 8th sister, the 9th sister, and others to prepare quickly for the military inspection the next day. When Wenguan saw that he was not mentioned, he anxiously asked, "Great-grandmother, what about me?" Princess Chai, thinking that Wenguan was the only remaining heir of the Yang family, tried to stop him. Battle is not like ordinary affairs. Wenguan is still young and should stay home. But Qin Yang encouraged him. Wenguan is my student. As for his skills, they are already on par with his mother. Let him go. Wenguan begged repeatedly, and everyone argued. The matriarch said, "Stop arguing. Tomorrow at the military training ground, let Wenguan have a martial contest with his mother. If he wins, he can go." The next day, the military training ground was filled with fluttering banners and the sound of drums and horns. She Taijun and all the soldiers came to watch young Wenguan and Mu Guiying compete in their martial contest. Mother and son galloped into the training ground on horseback, each displaying their skills without giving in. They fought so intensely that neither could gain the upper hand. Princess Chai hoped that Guiying would win. But She Taijun, Yang Qingyang, and Generals Meng and Zhao cheered for Wenguan. In the second round, Guiying deliberately tested Wenguan's martial skills, constantly changing her moves and showing off her abilities. Wenguan tried his best to defend but gradually couldn't hold on. Seeing things were going badly, Xinyang quickly beat the drums to end the contest. The third round would decide the winner. Wenguan quietly asked his mother to go easy on him. Guiying verbally said that a contest couldn't be compromised, but in her heart, she wanted to fulfill her son's heroic ambition. When Wenguan thrust his spear at her, she deliberately left an opening and fell off her horse on purpose. The matriarch saw through the scene and understood what had happened. But seeing that another young tiger general had emerged in the Yang family, she was very pleased. She immediately ordered that Wenguan be allowed to join the campaign. She also ordered Mu Guiying and Yang Qingyang as the chief and deputy vanguards, and the army would depart that very day. The Song army marched grandly toward the frontier. When the common people heard that the 100-year-old matriarch was leading the army and the women generals of the Yang family were all going to battle, they came out to line the streets and send them off. That day, the army arrived at the frontier. Yusong and the defending soldiers and civilians all came out of the pass to welcome them, greatly boosting morale. The matriarch comforted the soldiers and people while ordering the army to set up camp. When King Lianhuanhua of Western Xia received the scouts' report, he couldn't help but burst out laughing. The Song Dynasty has no one left. They have sent 12 widows to fight. How ridiculous! Today we will go out and crush them. He then went out with military advisor Wei Gu and Crown Prince Wang Xiang to issue a challenge. When the Western Xia army arrived at the pass, 3 cannon booms sounded from within. The city gate opened wide, and the women generals of the Yang family all rode out in formation, looking mighty and imposing. Wang Wen couldn't help but be shocked. The women generals of the Yang family are truly extraordinary. Wang Wen shouted from his horse, "Matriarch, you are over 100 years old. Why come here to your death? I advise you to surrender the frontier quickly to avoid unnecessary bloodshed." The matriarch replied, "You invaded our borders without cause and dare to speak so arrogantly. Surrender now, and I will spare your life." Lianhuanhua could no longer contain himself and immediately rode out to fight. The matriarch feared that Wenguan might be in danger and quickly ordered Qinyang into battle to capture the enemy. Qinyang rode out with her rolling dragon spear raised, fighting bravely. Wang Xiang couldn't defend against her and retreated step by step.
Wang Wen flew into a rage and personally went into battle to support his son, both attacking Qinyang. Qinyang shouted, "Come on then!" She thrust her spear to drive back Wang Xiang, then turned to fight Wang Wen. Her plum blossom spear moved like lightning, driving the Wang father and son to flee in defeat. The Song army pursued their victory and won a great triumph. Wang Wen fled back to the Flying Dragon Mountain camp, feeling very unhappy. He never expected the women generals of the Yang family to be so formidable. Now he could only rely on the natural defenses of Flying Dragon Mountain and the barrier of Gourd Valley, staying inside and waiting, hoping to find an opportunity to fight later. Military advisor Wei Gu proposed, if our army stays inside and does not fight, the Song army will surely become impatient. Then we can focus on Lianhuanhua, lure him into Gourd Valley, and threaten the matriarch to surrender the frontier. When Wang Wen heard this, he praised the plan repeatedly. The next day, Yang Qinyang went to the front of Flying Dragon Mountain to challenge the enemy. The Western Xia army held the high ground and refused to come out. Qinyang charged all the way to the camp gate but was stopped by arrows. She had no choice but to return to the pass. For more than 10 consecutive days, the enemy kept their no battle sign hanging high. The matriarch became suspicious, so she led the generals up the city tower to observe the enemy's situation and devise strategies. The matriarch thought, the enemy camp is stationed in front of Flying Dragon Mountain, defending from a strategic position. It will be hard to attack for now. If we could find a special force to rush through Gourd Valley and strike directly at the enemy's rear, attacking from both inside and outside, we would surely win. But I wonder if there is really a hidden path through Gourd Valley? Back in the command tent, the matriarch asked about how Zhongbo had scouted the valley before. Yu Song replied, that day, the general also wanted to achieve victory through surprise from Gourd Valley. But the valley conditions were unknown, and unfortunately he was killed. The horsekeeper Zhang Biao's wounds are healing. We can summon him to ask about it. Zhang Biao described in detail what had happened when he followed the general to scout the valley. In Gourd Valley, there are endless forests, thick wild fog, and winding paths that are hard to distinguish. Later, thanks to the guidance of an old herbalist, we finally discovered the plank road that leads directly to Flying Dragon Mountain. The matriarch was overjoyed and exclaimed, although my grandson Zhongbao could not complete his plan and died for his country, he had already scouted the secret valley and accomplished a great feat. Mu Guiying requested to lead a team into the valley to attack from within while the main army attacked from outside. The matriarch immediately agreed. Just as Mu Guiying was about to set out, a scout suddenly reported, Western Xia soldiers are already guarding the entrance to Gourd Valley. The matriarch was startled. Could the enemy already be prepared? But Qinyang was extremely happy when she heard this and quickly requested to fight. I've been worrying about not being able to find the enemy to fight. Let me go out and fight to my heart's content. The matriarch quickly said, Qinyang, do not be impatient. Just then, suddenly someone from Western Xia came with a challenge letter saying that Crown Prince Wang Xian wanted Lianhuanhua to meet him at the mouth of Gourd Valley for a duel. The letter also said, if a man comes today, we will fight, if a woman comes, no battle. If you dare to come, you are heroes, if not, retreat quickly. Qinyang kicked the messenger away. Wang Guang immediately asked the matriarch for permission to fight. Guiying stopped him saying, Wang Guang, this is the enemy's trick to lure us. Do not act rashly. But the matriarch laughed loudly, we can turn their plan to our advantage. This is Wang Guang welcoming us into the valley. Mu Guiying suddenly understood, the enemy came to challenge, perfect for us to turn their plan around. Wang Guang can go out to face the enemy while I lead troops to rush into the valley. The matriarch nodded in approval and immediately ordered Guiying to lead Qinyang, Wang Guang, and generals Meng and Zhao out of the pass to fight. When Zhang Biao heard that Mu Guiying was leading troops to Gourd Valley, he volunteered to guide them despite his wounds not yet being fully healed. The matriarch praised him, last time you followed the general into the valley and performed a great service. When we return victorious this time, we will reward everyone according to their achievements. The matriarch remembered the old saying an old horse knows the way and ordered Wang Guang to ride Yang Zhongbao's white dragon horse. She encouraged him, riding your father's war horse, you must fight as bravely as he did. And this old horse can also serve as a guide when the time comes. Wang Guang rode out of the pass straight to Gourd Valley. Wang Xiang came to fight but deliberately lured Wang Guang into the valley. Gue Ying led troops to rescue him and also took the opportunity to rush into the valley. Wang Wen thought the Song army had fallen into the trap and was overjoyed. He ordered Wang Xiang to firmly block the valley entrance. After entering the valley, Gue Ying ordered Generals Meng and Zhao to take a portion of the troops to hold the valley entrance and prevent Wang Xiang from attacking.
She herself led the main force, guided by Zhang Biao, to search for the mountain-crossing plank road. By then, it was already dusk, with a bone-chilling cold wind and flying sand.
The mountains were high, the paths dangerous, and the terrain rough. Gue Ying and her team hacked through thorns and brambles and pressed forward bravely. After great difficulty, they finally reached the southeastern foot of the mountain. Looking at the stars, it was already the third watch of the night. But where was the plank road? Thick fog made it impossible to see clearly. The soldiers dismounted and searched, but they could not find any trace of the plank road. Just as everyone was getting anxious, they suddenly saw the white dragon horse raise its head and neigh loudly. An idea struck Gue Ying: could the old horse still remember the way? She told Wang Guang to release the white dragon horse's reins and let it run free. Gue Ying and the others chased after it closely. The white dragon horse climbed over mountains and finally reached a hilltop, then suddenly stopped. Zhang Biao carefully examined the terrain and recognized that this was where General Zhang Bo had dismounted that day to enter the narrow path and find the plank road. But when everyone dismounted to search again, they still could not find any trace of the plank road. At this time, dawn was breaking. Qinyang suddenly spotted an old herbalist on the hillside and was overjoyed. Wasn't it an old herbalist who had guided General Zhang Bao that day? When Gue Ying heard, she hurried over to speak with the old man. The old man pointed to his ears and touched his mouth but gave no answer. Gue Ying was greatly disappointed. She had happened upon a deaf mute. When Zhang Biao arrived, the two recognized each other. It turned out that this was indeed the old man who had guided General Zhang Bao that day. The old man had been pretending to be deaf and mute because he was afraid of the Western Xia soldiers. Now that he knew Yang family generals had arrived, he was very happy. When the old man heard that General Zhang Bao, who had come to scout the path last time, had heroically sacrificed his life, he could not help but cry aloud. He volunteered to guide Gue Ying once again. The old man led them along the narrow winding path and over a high peak. Sure enough, they circled around to the back of Flying Dragon Mountain. At this time, the sun rose in the east and the morning fog cleared. The Song army had silently and unknowingly crossed the plank road and was now lying in ambush behind the Western Xia main camp, waiting for nightfall to attack the enemy from both inside and outside. That day, Ko Zhuan and Wang Hui happened to arrive at the frontier transporting supplies. When they heard that Gue Ying and the others were trapped in the valley, Wang Hui could not help but spread pessimistic talk about failure. Seeing that the matriarch was calm and composed, Ko Zhuan guessed she must have a clever plan. At dusk, they climbed the city tower together with the matriarch to observe the situation. Just as everyone was getting anxious, Western Xia sent another messenger with a letter threatening the matriarch to surrender the frontier immediately, or they would set fire to the valley and burn the Song army to ashes. The matriarch tore the letter to shreds, harshly rebuked the messenger, and told him to tell Wang Wen to surrender quickly, otherwise they would attack Flying Dragon Mountain and destroy the Western Xia camp. Wang Hui was wondering what clever plan the matriarch had up her sleeve when he suddenly saw flames rising in the distance. He lamented, "Oh no! The enemy is setting fire to the valley." The matriarch looked carefully and saw that the flames were not in Gourd Valley but in the enemy camp. She excitedly said, "Minister Wang, do not panic. This is the signal that Gue Ying has launched a surprise attack on the enemy camp." The matriarch ordered all generals to immediately open the gate and go out to battle. The rear camp of Flying Dragon Mountain caught fire. Mu Gue Ying and her team descended like divine soldiers from heaven. The Western Xia troops panicked and became disordered without even fighting. Wang Wen and other leaders hastily tried to respond. Wang Xiang was about to set fire to the valley at the entrance when he saw the main camp catching fire and was greatly shocked. Inside the valley, Generals Meng and Zhao saw the enemy camp on fire and charged out.
Wang Xiang had no heart for fighting and quickly led his troops to flee toward Flying Dragon Mountain. Before the father and son Wang could catch their breath after reuniting their forces, Mu Guiying and generals Meng and Zhao arrived from different directions, followed immediately by the main army from inside the pass. The Song army attacked from 3 directions, and the western Xia troops were severely defeated.
Wei Gu was trampled to death by the chaotic army. Wang Xiang was also unseated by Lianhuanhua and stabbed to death.
Wang Wen rode desperately to escape, but Wang Guang and Guiying chased closely behind.
Wang Wen drew his bow and shot an arrow directly at Wang Guang.
Guiying urged her horse forward to get in front of Wang Guang and knocked the arrow away with one hand.
Wang Guang thrust his spear and hit Wang Wen's war horse.
The horse carried Wang Wen around in circles.
Mu Guiying rode forward and with one spear thrust ended Wang Wen's life. The Song army won and withdrew.
Ko Zhuan and Wang Hui welcomed them outside the pass, congratulating the women generals of the Yang family on their great achievement. Yang Qinyang remembered the bet with Wang Hui and grabbed his official hat off his head, asking if he still wanted to be an official. Wang Hui was so ashamed he wished he could disappear. The army rested for 3 days and then returned triumphantly to the capital. Along the way, everyone rushed to see the women generals of the Yang family, and all praised their heroic deeds.